Welcome back to our live coverage, bringing you the latest breaking news around this ongoing conflict. As we start our coverage today, the Kuwait Armed Forces and its defense unit continue to demonstrate unwavering vigilance in safeguarding the nation's sovereignty through advanced air defense system, strategic readiness, and highly trained personnel. Kuwait's military maintains constant protection of the country's sovereignty against potential aerial threats, standing as the nation's protective shield. The defense forces reaffirm their enduring commitment to the security, stability, and safety of the state of Kuwait.
Kuwait's armed forces, a steadfast shield safeguarding the nation's sovereignty, with the defense of the country's airspace forming one of their most critical strategic responsibilities. In light of the recent regional tensions and the Iranian aggression across the Gulf region, Kuwait's military institutions have demonstrated a high level of readiness, professionalism, and operational efficiency in protecting the homeland. Through an integrated air defense network and constant surveillance of national airspace, the Kuwaiti Army and its supporting defense units have reinforced the country's security posture, ensuring that any hostile aerial activity is detected and addressed within precision. Such a vigilant defense system highlights Kuwait's firm dedication to preserving the safety of its land, the security of its people, and the protection of its critical infrastructure from any external danger. At the heart of this proactive system is also the Kuwait Air Force and the Specialized Air Defense Brigades operating under the General Staff of the Armed Forces. These units are tasked with the continuous monitoring and defense of Kuwaiti skies, operating from key strategic air bases including Ali Salim Air Base, Ahmed Al Jaber Air Base, and Abdullah Al Mubarak Air Base. Through advanced radar networks, early warning systems, and rapid response protocols, Kuwaiti forces maintain full operational awareness across the country's airspace. This structure enables swift detection and tracking of any potential threat, whether ballistic missiles, hostile aircraft, or rockets, ensuring immediate defensive action when necessary, preventing direct damage to key facilities. Although debris from intercepted missiles was reported and intercepted in the vicinity of certain military bases and within the Public Institute for Social Security's headquarters, the successful neutralization of these threats reflects the high readiness and operational discipline of Kuwait's defense personnel. Equally important is Kuwait's commitment to strengthening its defensive capabilities through cooperation and advanced training. The country had regularly participated in joint military exercises designed to enhance air defense coordination and counter drone operations. One notable example is the multinational Sky Shield exercise, which brings together Kuwaiti forces with international partners to improve joint response capabilities against aerial threats. These exercises strengthen operational coordination, refine interception strategies, and reinforce Kuwait's ability to respond effectively to emerging security challenges in the region. In addition, the role of the armed forces transcends conventional military duty. They represent the nation's vigilant guardians, standing ready to defend the homeland and maintain its stability in an increasingly complex regional environment. Through advanced technology, disciplined personnel, and a deeply rooted commitment to national security, Kuwait's defense forces continue to protect the country's airspace with unwavering determination. Their efforts reaffirm the armed forces' role as Kuwait's proactive shield, an enduring symbol of strength, readiness, and dedication to the safety and sovereignty of the state of Kuwait.
منظومة الاتصالات بالكويت شغالة بكفاءة عالية ولله الحمد، والهيئة العامة للاتصالات وتقنية المعلومات مستعدة لأي طارئ لا قدر الله. في ظل التوترات اللي تمر فيها المنطقة فعلنا خطط الطوارئ وعززنا التعاون مع الجهات المعنية عشان نضمن استقرار الخدمات الرقمية وسرعة الاستجابة لأي مستجد. الوضع تحت المتابعة وكل الجهات المختصة على أتم الجاهزية. عسى الله يحفظ الكويت وأهلها.
The state of Kuwait continues to condemn the Iranian attacks, describing them as a violation of national sovereignty and international law while emphasizing its right to defend its territory and protect its population. Kuwait affirmed that the attack represents a dangerous escalation that threatens the security and stability of the country and the wider Gulf region. The Kuwaiti cabinet issued a statement expressing its firm condemnation to the attacks and reaffirmed that the country's commitment to defending its sovereignty and protecting its citizens and residents. Government official emphasized that Kuwait reserves the right to take all necessary measures to safeguard its territorial integrity and ensure national security. The cabinet also stressed that Kuwait's security institutions remain fully prepared to respond to any threats. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs also issued strong diplomatic condemnation of the attacks, describing the strikes as unacceptable act of aggression and called for an immediate halt to the hostilities. Kuwait's foreign ministry further emphasized the importance of respecting international law and the principles of sovereignty and non-interference in internal affairs of the state, urging all parties involved in the regional conflict to exercise restraint and avoid further escalation that could threaten peace and security in the region. Kuwait's official response has combined a strong condemnation of the attacks with calls for regional de-escalation and respect for international law. The government has repeatedly stressed that while Kuwait remains committed to diplomacy and stability in the region, it will take all necessary measures to protect its sovereignty, its population, and its national interests. In addition to its national statement, Kuwait raised the issue at the regional diplomatic forums. During meetings of the Arab League, Kuwait's representative condemned the attack and called for a unified Arab support in addressing threats to regional security. Kuwait's delegation also highlighted the scale of the attacks and emphasized that such actions risk expanding the conflict beyond its current scope. As for the confrontation in the Middle East continues to intensify, questions are growing about how tensions between Iran, the United States, and Israel escalated into what analysts now describe as one of the most serious regional crises in decades. The exchange of strikes, rising rhetoric, and concerns over strategic infrastructure have all contributed to fears that conflict could expand further and reshape the balance of power across the region. And at the same time, debate continue over the strategic calculations of all sides, including whether the scale of Iran's response was anticipated, the broader objective behind Washington's operations, and the potential scenarios that may unfold in the coming months. And to shed light on these critical questions, let's turn to a recorded statement by Mr. Khalid As-Salal, a strategic expert, as he provides his analysis of the current development and online outline of the possible path this conflict could take in the near future.
The current war between Iran, Israel, and the United States is the culmination of years of escalating tensions that ultimately erupted into direct confrontation. For decades, the conflict was largely indirect. Israel and the United States opposed Iran's nuclear program and its growing regional influence through allied militias. While Iran viewed both countries as existential threats, this led to years of covert operations, cyber attacks, assassinations, and proxy wars across the region. The situation escalated in recent years as Iran and Israel began exchanging direct missiles and drone strikes, breaking the rules of indirect conflict. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts to revive nuclear negotiations repeatedly faltered. The turning point came in early this year, in 2006. The operations going now, when the United States and Israel launched large-scale strikes against Iranian nuclear and military facilities. Iran responded by launching missile and drone attacks on Israel and also attacked its Gulf neighbors. However, the Gulf states did not retaliate in kind to prevent the conflict from escalating into full-blown war. A wise and measured move to avoid a wider regional conflict. Long-standing strategic rivalry, failed diplomatic efforts, and escalating direct military strikes ultimately transformed the region from covert conflict into the open warfare we see today, involving not only these parties but also neighboring Gulf Operation Council GCC states, which are not directly involved in the conflict. In simple terms, the question is whether United States misjudged how Iran would respond after the strikes carried out with Israel. Many analysts believe America expected that heavy strikes on Iranian military and nuclear facilities would weaken Iran quickly and deter a large response. Instead, Iran retaliated with missiles, drones, and regional pressure, expanding the confrontation beyond Israel to the U.S. interests across the region. However, Iran's strategy is not to defeat the United States in a conventional war. Its doctrine focuses on a war of attrition, using missiles, drones, proxy groups, cyber attacks, and threats to energy routes to raise the cost of conflict over time. And that said, sustaining a long war is extremely difficult for Iran. The United States and Israel still hold overwhelming military and air superiority, and Iran faces serious economic pressure and damage to its military infrastructure. Iran can prolong the conflict and impose costs, but maintaining a large-scale war against the United States and Israel would be extremely challenging. The objectives behind the operations by the United States and Israel against Iran appear to operate three strategic levels, which helps explain why the rhetoric from Washington seems to have evolved. We could say first, the immediate objective is military containment. At the beginning of the conflict, the main justification was preventing Iran from reaching a nuclear weapons capability. The strike focused on nuclear facilities, missile bases, and air defense to reduce Iran's ability to threaten Israel, U.S. forces, and regional allies. In this phase, the goal was essentially deterrence and disruption, not a broader war. Also, the operational objective is degrading Iran's regional power. As the conflict expanded, the strategy shifted toward weakening Iran's broader military infrastructure, its missile arsenal, command networks, and its ability to project power through regional partners. By targeting these capabilities, Washington aims to reduce Iran's long-term abilities and U.S. bases. Also, the strategic objectives may be political pressure on the Iranian system itself. More recent rhetoric from US officials suggests an effort to increase internal pressure on Iran's ruling establishment. This doesn't necessarily mean a direct invasion or a classic regime change operation, but rather creating enough economic, military, and political restraint to force major concessions or potentially trigger internal political transformation. The operations appear to pursue a layered strategy to stop Iran's nuclear progress, weaken its military and regional influence, and increase pressure on the ruling system to change its behavior or face internal instability. This explains why the narrative has shifted. What began as a limited counter-proliferation strike is increasingly being framed as part of a broader effort to reshape the strategic balance with Iran. Over the next few months, the three main scenarios could shape the course of the conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel. The first scenario is a war of attrition. In this case, Iran continues its missile, drone, and proxy attacks, while the United States and Israel launch targeted strikes against Iranian military infrastructure. The conflict continues without a decisive victory. The second possibility is a negotiation negotiation settlement after a period of escalation. International mediation could push the parties toward a ceasefire and resumption of negotiations on the Iranian nuclear program and regional security arrangements. The most dangerous scenario is the regional escalation if the attacks expand significantly or if strategic waterways such as the Strait of Hormuz are disrupted. The conflict could escalate into a wider war in the Middle East. I believe that the most likely outcome in the near term is the second scenario, which I said a negotiation settlement. After a period of escalation, international mediation may push the parties toward a ceasefire and resumption of negotiations on the Iranian nuclear program and regional security arrangements, depending on how events unfold.
بتوجيهات مباشرة ومتابعة حثيثة ومتواصلة من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة، سارعت وزارة الشؤون إلى وضع الخطط المسبقة التي تهدف من خلالها إلى المحافظة على مستويات المخزون الاستراتيجي من السلع المواد الغذائية والاستهلاكية، ولضمان سلاسة وسهولة تدفقها إلى الأسواق التعاونية. قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة، معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماماً ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق. كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي، والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانياً بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها للاستجابة للطوارئ والكوارث في ظل الأوضاع الجيوسياسية الحاصلة في المنطقة. جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي تعمل من ضمن منظومة إنسانية متكاملة مع مؤسسات دولة الكويت من حيث الاستجابة السريعة وتجهيز المتطوعين من ضمن أفرقة مختلفة للاستجابة للطوارئ في سرعة قصوى. يعد متطوعين جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي من المتطوعين اللي تم تدريبهم مكثفاً في الإسعافات الأولية والاستجابة للكوارث والاستجابة الميدانية. تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها الميدانية ورفع جاهزيتها من حيث الاستجابة للطوارئ في حالات اللي يتم ندائها. بالنسبة للمخزون الاستراتيجي لجمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي، فإحنا على أتم الاستعداد للاستجابة في حال النداء من قبل مؤسسات حكومة دولة الكويت.
بتوجيهات مباشرة ومتابعة حثيثة ومتواصلة من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة، سارعت وزارة الشؤون إلى وضع الخطط المسبقة التي تهدف من خلالها إلى المحافظة على مستويات المخزون الاستراتيجي من السلع المواد الغذائية والاستهلاكية، ولضمان سلاسة وسهولة تدفقها إلى الأسواق التعاونية. قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته. توجيهات مباشرة ومتابعة حثيثة ومتواصلة من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة، سارعت وزارة الشؤون إلى وضع الخطط المسبقة التي تهدف من خلالها إلى المحافظة على مستويات المخزون الاستراتيجي من السلع المواد الغذائية والاستهلاكية، ولضمان سلاسة وسهولة تدفقها إلى الأسواق التعاونية. قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته.
Welcome back to our live coverage, bringing you the latest updates and breaking news from Kuwait and around the region. Well, this just in, we have a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressing the state of Kuwait's condemnation and strong denunciation of the recent Iranian aggression that targeted Port Salalah in the Sultanate of Oman and the resulting damage to several fuel storage banks at the port. Minister of Foreign Affairs affirmed that the targeting ports and economic facilities represent a dangerous escalation that threatens the movement of international trade and the safety of vital infrastructure and undermines the effort aimed at strengthening security aimed stability in the region. Now, as tension continues to rise across the Gulf region, Gulf Cooperation Council has demonstrated a unified and resolute stance in confronting regional challenges following the attacks on several GCC strategic locations and sites. Leaders and senior officials moved swiftly to condemn the aggression and express their full solidarity with one another. Through coordinated diplomatic communication and a firm political statement, the Gulf states reaffirmed their commitment to collective security and the protection of regional stability.
At a time of heightened tensions across the Gulf Cooperation Council has demonstrated a unified and resolute political stance in defense of regional stability and the sovereignty of its member states. The recent attack targeting Kuwait's airport marked a critical moment that tested the cohesion of the Gulf bloc. In response, Leaders and officials of the GCC moved swiftly to condemn the aggression and reaffirm their collective commitment to safeguarding the security of the region. Through coordinated diplomatic communication and unified political stances, the Gulf states underscored the principle that any threat to one member state represents a threat to the stability of the entire Gulf region. Immediately following the incident, senior officials and heads of state across the GCC engaged in a series of high level communications with the leadership of the state of Kuwait to express solidarity and support. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Mish'al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, may Allah protect and bless him, received messages and calls from fellow Gulf leaders condemning the attack and emphasizing the unity of the Gulf position. In addition to His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah, may Allah protect him, and His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Abdullah Al Ahmed Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, may Allah protect him, as well as Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Jarrah Jaber Al Ahmed Al Sabah. These communications reflect not only diplomatic protocol, but also a deep-rooted commitment among GCC states to stand together during moments of regional challenges. The statements issued by the Gulf capitals reiterated that Kuwait's security is inseparable from the security of the wider Gulf region. GCC officials also issued formal condemnations describing the aggression as a dangerous escalation that threatens regional stability and international security. The Secretary General of the GCC Council, Jassim Libdewi, emphasized that such attacks violate international norms and undermine efforts aimed at maintaining peace in the Gulf. In official statements, GCC institutions reaffirmed their rejection of any act that targets civilian infrastructure, airports, or strategic facilities within member states. Beyond diplomatic statements, the situation has reinforced the strategic importance of collective defense mechanisms within the GCC framework. Gulf leaders reiterated their commitment to strengthening joint security coordination and defensive capabilities among member states. Through continuous coordination between defense institutions and political leadership, the GCC seeks to ensure that the Gulf remains prepared to respond collectively to threats that challenge the sovereignty of its member states. Kuwait, as a founding pillar of the GCC, contributes significantly to preserving regional dialogue and enhancing collective cooperation in moments of tension. Following the attack on its airport, Kuwaiti leadership maintained close communication with Gulf counterparts to coordinate diplomatic messaging and reinforce their shared commitment to regional security. These exchanges highlight Kuwait's long-standing role as both a stabilizing force and a diplomatic bridge within the Gulf framework. The solidarity expressed by neighboring states served as a powerful affirmation of the strength of Gulf unity when confronted with external pressure. Ultimately, the current tensions have underscored the enduring relevance of the GCC as a platform for regional coordination and collective defense. Faced with growing challenges and Iranian aggression that place the Gulf under pressure, the unity displayed by GCC leaders sends a clear signal of determination and resilience.
And as tension continues to escalate across the Middle East amid the ongoing confrontation between Iran and the Israeli occupation, concerns are growing about the potential expansion of the conflict across the Gulf region. Recent developments, including reported attacks affecting several regional states and rising threats against strategic infrastructure, have raised questions about the security environment and the preparedness of Gulf nations to face a rapidly evolving situation. In the Kingdom of Bahrain, authorities are closely monitoring developments while taking precautionary measures to safeguard national security and protect residents. At this time, policymakers are assessing the broader political and economic implications of the crisis for the region. To shed light on this issue, we spoke to Mr. Ahmed Al-Salloum, Chairman of the Committee on Financial and Economic Affairs and Vice Chairman of the Asian Parliamentary Assembly in Bahrain, as he addresses the latest development and provides us his perspective on the situation in the kingdom.
من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة سارعت وزارة.
Thank you for having me. Yes, the current situation suggests that region may be entering more tense and sensitive phase. When attacks began to affect several countries on the Gulf, it naturally raises the risk of a wider regional escalation. This is why many governments in the region are closely monitoring developments and reviewing their security measures. At the same time, Gulf states are working to prevent the situation from turning into a larger conflict. There is a strong coordination between Gulf countries as well as with international partners to manage risk and to maintain stability. We are also hearing more focus on diplomacy and de escalation. The general approach in the Gulf is to stay prepared for different scenarios, but at the same time working to calm tensions and avoid a broader regional confrontation. Any possibility that attacks could affect civilian areas is taken very seriously by policymakers. Protecting people, residential neighborhoods, and critical infrastructure such as airport and energy facilities is always a top priority for the government. In situations like this, authorities increase monitoring and security measures and they review emergency response plans to make sure that the country is prepared for different scenarios. There is also close coordination between national security agencies and regional partners to share information and to respond quickly if needed. At the same time, officials aims to reassure the public by maintaining clear communication and protect residents and maintaining stability. Overall, the goal is reduce risk as much as possible while ensuring that daily life, countries' safety, and that countries remains stable and secure. In times like this, government focus on being open, clear, and taking strong security actions to reassure people. Authority work to keep residents informed, improve emergency readiness, and cooperate with security partners to keep the country safe and stable. Policymakers in Bahrain are taking these statements very seriously as part of a broader look at region security. In situations like this, governments don't just react, they plan for different outcomes. At the same time, they are actively supporting diplomatic efforts to reduce tension. The focus is on being careful, working closely with region partners, and making sure the whole region stay safe and stable. Bahrain location makes it an important part of regional security, but also connecting with Gulf countries and international partners. This cooperation helps keep the region strong and stable. The main goals of Bahrain and its partner is to stop conflict from spreading and to keep the region safe.
تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها للاستجابة للطوارئ والكوارث في ظل الأوضاع الجيوسياسية الحاصلة في المنطقة. جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي تعمل من ضمن منظومة إنسانية متكاملة مع مؤسسات دولة الكويت من حيث الاستجابة السريعة وتجهيز المتطوعين من ضمن أفرقة مختلفة للاستجابة للطوارئ في سرعة قصوى. يعد متطوعين جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي من المتطوعين اللي تم تدريبهم مكثفاً في الإسعافات الأولية والاستجابة للكوارث والاستجابة الميدانية. تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها الميدانية ورفع جاهزيتها من حيث الاستجابة للطوارئ في حالات اللي يتم ندائها. بالنسبة للمخزون الاستراتيجي لجمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي فإحنا على أتم الاستعداد للاستجابة في حال النداء من قبل مؤسسات حكومة دولة الكويت.
As we continue our live coverage today, the tensions continue to rise in the region. The aviation sector has become one of the first industries to feel the immediate impact. Airspace restriction, precautionary measures, and changing flight paths are forcing airlines across the Gulf to adapt quickly to ensure the safety of passengers and crews while maintaining operational continuity. For Kuwait, a country that serves as an important regional hub for travel and cargo movement, these developments raise key questions about airlines' operations, logistics, and the broader economic implications. Now, to discuss how the aviation sector is navigating these challenges and how the airlines are responding to the evolving regional situations, we are happily joined here today in the studio by Mr. Barathan Pasupathy, Chief Executive Officer of Jazeera Airways. Mr. Pasupathy, thank you for being here with us today. Now, if you don't mind, we'll get into the details of it because I know you have a lot of information to share with us today. With the recent escalations that's happening and the closures and restriction of the airspace of several Gulf states, how has the situation directly affected the operational planning of your airways?
First and foremost, Abdul Rahim, I want to thank you and KFTV2 for having us here today and for allowing us not only to tell our story during this, it's already 11 days, the crisis of 11 days now, but more importantly to share on how it's affecting the Middle East and importantly Kuwait. Yes. But first and foremost, at Jazeera Airways, we'd like to tell all the viewers, most of them have been customers of Jazeera Airways, that we stand in solidarity with them and we feel for them, and we believe just as we have seen the crisis of last year with the two wars, we'll come out of this and Kuwait will come out of this stronger.
Sure.
Now, specifically in answering your question, if you look at what this 11-day crisis so far has done, it has not only impacted Jazeera Airways. As you know, Kuwait Airways has also been affected. Likewise, all the airlines in the 6 GCC countries have been affected. And so what happened on the 28th of February, very early in the morning, no one expected it. But however, the rhetoric you've been hearing for the weeks before this had all airlines, not only Jazeera Airways, for planning for various scenarios. Some expected it to last for a week, some expected to last 2 weeks, some could not even see or fathom that this could happen today. In terms of how it's affected our planning, it has disrupted our full network. I think the first fundamental priority in any crisis is the safety of our customers and people and protecting the aircraft, the engines and the assets around the business. So what we actually did when the crisis broke up in early morning at 7+, we activated our emergency response planning teams and they did a marvelous job. The planning, the pre-planning, the mitigation that we've took with all the risk assessments made sure that when the aircraft were in the air, they were given a safe passage to actually land in airports safe outside of Kuwait. Aircrafts in Kuwait which were about to take off remained in Kuwait and turned back to the terminal, and passengers were offloaded. So basically what happened there was a complete network shutdown. And so what happened for us, 50% of our fleet remained in Kuwait, 50% of our fleet remained elsewhere in Egypt, in Istanbul, in Jordan, in other places, the UAE.
Grounded before taking off.
Grounded before taking off, but with the simple principle of the safety of our customers and people.
Now, like you mentioned, on the 28th, nobody anticipated the attack. One of the first attacks that happened was on Kuwait International Airport. Now, explain to us, you said you've implemented the plans. I know there's a contingency plan for the operations for the airlines. What is the coordination that's happened between the airlines and the Public Authority for Civil Aviation, and how did it effectively move smoothly to where we are today?
Look, just as the crisis, the 12-day war we witnessed of last year, where it was quite different from what we see this year, right? Kuwait was directly impacted. And last year, the Iranian airspace was impacted, and so flying through and to Iran was affected. In this crisis, you had Noon Phantom, all the GCC airspace being shut down, and Kuwait, in fact, has been shut down for 11 days, while some of the countries in GCC have opened up. Now, when that happened and networks were shut down, we didn't really anticipate the full closure of Kuwait airport. But what we did is we worked with the DGCA, the MOI, the MOD, and MOFA to some extent as well. So you must understand, aviation is about connecting people.
Yes.
Countries to cities.
Yes.
And communities. So people were impacted, and when it broke out, we had more than 200, almost 300 people in our terminal that were impacted when Kuwait was impacted on 28th of February. So we had to make sure that we lock down the terminal, we give safe passage to them, we then extract them out from the terminal and put them into hotels.
Now, I will come back to this point because I know part of your operation during this crisis is dealing with the customers and potentially, because I know some of our viewers are actually worried. Some of them have prior bookings. They want to know what the travel plans, but we'll get into that for further details. But let's come back. As you know, many countries in the regions, including Kuwait, have temporarily closed or restricted their airspace due to security concerns. How challenging is it for the airlines to manage flight schedules such under rapidly changing conditions?
Airways and navigation pathways or waypoints are the lifeblood of aviation. In fact, they are sacred passages that should never be disrupted for aviation, on the premise that it connects humanity, it connects cities, it connects countries. So what we saw in the initial days of this disruption was each country was acting on its own in terms of when it closed the airspace without coordination. However, lately we have seen quite a fair bit of coordination around the GCC skies, but when that happened, basically you cut off city links, you cut off economies. And I come from a small country called Singapore. You know, everything is imported. Likewise in Kuwait.
Yes.
When the Straits of Hormuz is impacted, you cut off supply. The supply chain on top of e-commerce of bringing in food and produce, medical products, essential items, perishables. So everything was cut off in that aspect. I think I'd like to touch on the point that you mentioned that the airspace was closed or remained closed in some of the GCC countries. Actually, it's not. Today, if you look at flight radar, you'll see a lot of aircraft movements. You don't see it in Kuwait as yet, but you'll see it in the UAE, you'll see it in Qatar, you'll see it in Saudi Arabia. Now, I have to mention, Saudi Arabia is one GCC country that has really kept its whole airspace open, and it has been a savior to all of us in many ways, and I will touch on the topic of Al Qaisuma later in Hafrabatan region in terms of what we've done today as well.
Now, like you mentioned, and actually yesterday or the day before, we had a guest here in the studio who is from the customs, and we touched base on this issue that most of the flight coming into Kuwait, the cargo flights, have been grounded and stopped, and they redirected their routes towards border entry. Now, we'll come into how Jazeera Airways fixed the scheduling during this crisis. You know, airlines across the region have been forced to reroute flights,
Yes.
or suspend routes entirely. What adjustment had Jazeera Airways had to make in terms of flight path, fuel planning, and operational safety?
You will be pleased to know we have actually continued flying. However, the initial days when it happened on 28th, we did the most logical thing of cooling off the network, parking all the aircraft, assessing flight schedules, waypoints, and the team at Jazeera smartly pivoted. We were doing, you must understand, this is Ramadan.
Yes.
This is a holy period of Ramadan. And in this period, we were doing a lot of Umrah flying. So we had a huge demand in Umrah flying that was actually coming from markets into Kuwait and going into Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, Medina, as you know. However, what Jazeera did very smartly, when it happened, it went to regulators in Saudi Arabia. It went to regulators in other points when you were flying through Kuwait to Saudi Arabia and negotiated direct flying. In fact, after the 28th, when you cooled off by parking the aircraft to ensure that people and customers are safe, we then relaunched flying from Jeddah and Medina. We have been flying non-stop on Umrah flying to Grozny, to Mahachkala, to Nalchik, and even to Osh and to the CIS when we were able to do that. But right now, some of it is curtailed, but we continued flying, and even today, as I speak to you, flights have been going on for the last number of days. So that is one aspect of this. Then we took a view that we need to get into dual operations. The core network in Kuwait was impacted, so customers couldn't go from Kuwait to UAE, couldn't go from Kuwait to Egypt, which is one of the biggest market segments. We then took the so-called planning that Jeddah and Medina will continue with Umrah flying, and we needed to find another safe port, a safe haven, to recommence international flying for Kuwait.
Mr. Pasupathi, we will touch more based on this issue, but I want to turn to one of our correspondents, Sheikha Tamimi, who will give us the update. I think she's at the Kuwait Blood Bank. Sheikha, can you hear me?
Yes, Abdurrahim, I can hear you.
Sheikha, Central Department of Blood and Cellular Therapy at the Ministry of Health have announced that Kuwait has successfully raised around 2,000 blood units during the recent campaign. How does this response reflect the solidarity and resilience of Kuwaiti citizens and residents?
I can draw my answer tonight from my own observation as I arrived at the venue, and as I was parking my car, there were continuous cars coming behind me, and I also saw a lot of people inside the blood bank themselves, various nationalities, residents and citizens alike, everyone sharing the same responsibility, everyone sharing the same love that we have for Kuwait and the same admiration, as we all want to donate blood to help maintain an adequate medical blood reserve in the nation during these times.
A strong national blood reserve during times of regional unrest, and what message do you want to share with the people who are considering donating?
Donating blood during these times, and not just during these turbulent times, even on regular days as we enjoy our safety and security, is such a beautiful, selfless act to perform. You don't have to be a specific nationality. You don't have to be a specific career. You just have to be a person who has the same love and admiration that we have for the same soil that we are standing on during right now. If you have no health issues, no health concerns, my simple request and message would be to just come and donate, please. The donation windows are at 2 times, during the morning and during the evening, and the workers at the Central Blood Bank are all eager to help everyone who wants to donate. With me here actually is my guest, Abdullah Al-Najdi, PR department at the STC Kuwait, and they brought their own employees here for their own, out of their national responsibility to donate their blood. So good evening, Abdullah. Can you tell me about the turnout of employees at the blood bank?
First of all, thank you for being here today with us. We are proud of our collaboration with the blood bank. It's not our first time to collaborate with them, but since we are in this current time, it's our responsibility and social responsibility to be part of the blood donation and the blood supply as well. So being here today, it's a must, and everyone participated. We had like over 150 employees today with us participating in the blood donation. Our collaboration will continue, inshallah, with the blood bank, not for now, but also from time to time, inshallah. We will bring more of our employees to participate. And even our CEO, we had the honor to have our CEO participating today and did the blood donation as well.
So what kind of small message you can give to our dear viewers during as we are going live tonight?
So whatever we do for our country, our Kuwait, and for our people, it's nothing compared to what the first liners are doing, the army and everyone supporting us. So our addition, I hope that can add value to the, especially for the blood supply. And inshallah, God's keep our country safe, and we pass this time.
Thank you, Abdullah Najdi, PR department at STC Kuwait. And as I will reiterate on his own statement, which is what our frontliners are doing is of tremendous value. And if we can do one small act of donating our blood to our dear homeland to make sure that our medical reserves will not be overwhelmed during any possible times of crises, then let's just go ahead and do that. I would also like to remind our viewers, this is at this point is just a reminder on and on again. Do not spread any kind of rumors, and please take your information from the correct official sources. From the Kuwait Central Blood Bank, back to you at the studio.
Thank you, Sheikh At-Tamimi, and be safe. Let's take a quick break and we'll continue with this live coverage.
توجيهات مباشرة ومتابعة حثيثة ومتواصلة من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة، سارعت وزارة الشؤون إلى وضع الخطط المسبقة التي تهدف من خلالها إلى المحافظة على مستويات المخزون الاستراتيجي من السلع المواد الغذائية والاستهلاكية، ولضمان سلاسة وسهولة تدفقها إلى الأسواق التعاونية. قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته.
Welcome back to this live coverage, bringing you the latest developments and breaking news from Kuwait and around the region. Still with me in the studio is my guest, Baratan Pasupathy, Chief Executive Officer of Jazeera Airways. Now, we spoke briefly about rerouting aviations and finding a way to accommodate all the services that Jazeera Airways provide. Now, the aviator sector is highly sensitive to geopolitical developments. What has been immediate financial impact on airline revenue due to flight suspensions, cancellations, and a lower passenger demand?
It's a great question. First and foremost, I did comment on Bloomberg recently that airlines in the GCC living the worst case scenario. If you heard what the CEO of Saudi Aramco said a few days ago, is catastrophic in its word. For aviation, it's an amazing industry. It is an industry that's gone through various cycles. I was here in Kuwait between 2007 and 10. We didn't have a war then. It was a global financial crisis. Aviation bounced back. Yes, there are basically analysts who are saying that this crisis, given the escalation of Brent, and more importantly crack on top of Brent, which makes more OPEC or jet fuel, that is one issue. The other issue of what closed airspaces, the dual whammy of these are providing huge headwinds into aviation, and a lot of airlines will not do well in the foreseeable future. But I just want the viewers and analysts to understand this is a very different crisis. This is a very different crisis. This hopefully is not a COVID situation. If you recall, I think COVID was the worst case situation that any aviation regulator, jurisdiction or airspace has witnessed. Singapore's locked down for almost 2+ years. Kuwait partially, and then it opened up. Middle East opened up. But if you look at this situation, yes, it has happened. It has also happened in one of the softer periods in terms of demand and supply cycles, Ramadan. So actually going into a Ramadan, a lot of airlines have actually withdrawn capacity, preparing into what's post-Ramadan in a very Eid season. And then after Eid, you get into a very peak summer season. So it's a blessing in disguise, but it's unfortunate we are in this situation with the 11-day lockdown, but capacity was already withdrawn. Aircraft were sent out for maintenance. In fact, at Jazeera, almost 18 to 20% of our fleet, when I say they were away, they were in an engineering program, an engine program, or seat retrofit program. So we actually took away the capacity. Yep, that's number one. Soft landing or soft season. I won't say soft landing, soft season. Okay. The second thing is, given the other situation of this impacting the whole network, and that we have already shown resilience, great resilience in Jazeera, that we recommenced and pivoted some aircraft metal into Jeddah and Medina. We commenced flying almost day plus 48 to 72 hours. We commenced flying. We got approvals and we commenced flying from KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, to other points to bring Umrah traffic. And people were pleased, customers were pleased that we were able to serve them and to the commitments we had with them. But more importantly, this morning, I think you've seen it itself.
Yes.
We pivoted capacity, even though Kuwait was closed 10, 11 days, into Al Kasuma Airport. And we launched our flights, 145 customers, Kuwaitis. There was a Lebanese person I met, Egyptians. When I waited at the airport, preparing with the Saudi government and GACA, amazing regulator in Saudi Arabia, and our stakeholders and partners, SGS, and we're waiting for the buses to arrive, you should see the smiles on the faces in terms of how Jazeera has pivoted the capacity and enabled international flying again. So yes, financials will be impacted, coming very specifically to your question. But we were already planning for a soft March. Now the question is, how far is this going to be?
Yes.
From all indication and rhetoric that you saw going into the war, and now we see into the 11-day war to date, all right? You never know how long it's going to go. The people want to end this. I don't have the crystal ball, but I can tell you at Jazeera we have got amazing partners who have partnered us for the last 20 years, who've gone through various cycles, including COVID, and we just reactivated the COVID action plans in terms of mothballing costs, looking after people, but this is a very different crisis. Unlike COVID, we have all the intention to keep our people because we are going to grow in Q4 of this year.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned COVID, as I consider COVID as a case study, because post-COVID, we've seen a lot of restructuring of airlines internationally. A lot of airlines suffered huge financial deficits. Now, with this crisis, there's a different risk towards it. I want to ask you this specifically. During COVID period, people were anxious to go back to their daily life. But in the current situation now, with airlines rerouting, finding other routes, how is it for the consumer feeling safe enough to fly out of this region?
Okay. Let me just flip you back even before COVID into SARS. In Singapore, if you know, severe acute respiratory syndrome, it impacted market, and markets actually collapsed. The stock market went down into 6 delta correction, and airlines just parked the aircrafts. Massive turmoil. Then you had COVID, the 3-year shutdown. And yes, you're right. Airlines restructured. But the unique story about Jazeera, this is a unique story. It actually grew in COVID. If you look at what Jazeera has been, I was here for the first tour in Jazeera CFO between 07 and 10. We kept aircraft, global financial crisis hit. We set up a very unique aircraft leasing company. We did very well. And then come COVID, Jazeera actually took advantage of the situation where aircraft was available in the market. Manufacturers, both engine manufacturers and aircraft manufacturers could not sell their, because no one wanted at that stage, and the price points of aircraft and aircraft assets were reasonable. So what did Jazeera do? We sealed a 26 aircraft order book, 2020, 2021, and those are going to be delivered this year. So, and Jazeera grew 3 multiples from 7 aircraft to 21, 22 aircraft. Yes, airlines restructured themselves. This could be very different from COVID, but we still believe, fundamentally we believe that there will be some level of stability returning cautiously. We are cautiously optimistic there will be some level of stability returning. You already see this. The GCC cannot be disconnected to the world, because today, as we speak, the GCC accounts for 10% of global aviation traffic and 12% of all the inbound seats in the world, because when I go home to Singapore, I'm going through the GCC. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not going to India.
It's a central hub between Asia and...
It's an essential hub between Asia to Europe, Middle East to the US, Europe, India to the US and Europe. This is a key and a very important hub that has served global aviation in a very phenomenal way. Saudi Arabia actually grew by 40% since 2019. The UAE has been growing. The only market that actually hasn't rebounded outside from Kuwait is Kuwait, because the traffic numbers in Kuwait still are lagging the COVID numbers. The rest of the GCC has actually grown. So there's a huge opportunity for Kuwait.
Inshallah, inshallah. Now, looking at the broader economic picture, how could prolonged disruption to aviation and cargo movement impact the Gulf trade, tourism, and connectivity with the global markets?
Again, I put a preamble there that I don't have a crystal ball. I can just give you some scenarios in terms of where it is. If you build various scenarios, you say the low case, mid case, and the high case. Look, if it affects 11 days in a market where you really need import products, you cannot remain unconnected. So Jazeera has actually reached out, Jazeera has been approached by various parties, including the Ministry of Commerce, to restart. I think if you recall, during COVID, all the national carriers, Kuwait Airways and Jazeera Airways, came out.
Yes, yes.
So we are going to dedicate a number of fleet to serve Kuwait, because we know we have to serve the community, and we will be reaching out to stakeholders. We've been reached out to a lot of wholesale suppliers, perishables, medical equipment. We've been reached out to move people out of Kuwait in certain sectors. So cargo and produce movement is essential and important, and it has to happen, especially right now if you put the other risk of the Straits of Hormuz. There's no sea lanes, and the only way Kuwait can be connected in terms of commerce and e-commerce and products is through air lanes. And so it's great to see, I fundamentally believe Kuwait will open up. I believe the DGCA, I believe the Ministry of Defense will collaborate, just as we've seen in the UAE. Today, as we speak, Emirates is almost flying everywhere else in the world.
Okay.
Likewise, other carriers are doing so too.
Well, Mr. Baratan, I would like to, have a further discussion with you, but we're running out of time. I just want to have one more question, if you don't mind. What measures are the airlines like Jazeera is taking to ensure the safety of passengers and crew while maintaining operational continuity during the sensitive period?
Okay. We have a simple saying in Jazeera: safety is a foundation for growth, and it's safety first, safety always. If you look at what's happening right now, aircrafts are flying into parts where you could have hazards. So in a situation like this, you'll do risk mitigation. You'll make sure you do the risk assessments, and you have a primary airport, a secondary airport in the event of an incident or airspace closures. I have been on multiple flights. In fact, I've been flying until I could not fly. When airspace was closed, I had to drive almost 800 kilometers to Kuwait via Al Kasuma after we did the launch. And you find that aviation is one of the most clinical and precision-based industry where everything is not left to chance. At Jazeera, we do the same thing. In fact, we organized Kuwait's first aviation safety forum last year. We basically look at rerouting. We carry extra fuel. Pilots given pre-briefings, and if you go into certain hazardous areas, we put very experienced pilots into those so-called waypoints that they have to fly into. So that's done. But I think the one thing I would like to address is Al Kasuma. If you see what you have done today, we have re-established international connectivity for Kuwait. And we are getting some tremendous reception. Just coming into the studio, it's a lot of people are talking about Jazeera and asking for seats. It's a pleasure, and I always say this. We started sponsoring a club called Qadsiya.
Okay.
We say Qadsiya is Watan, and I say Jazeera is Watan.
Mr. Baratan Pasupati, it's a pleasure having you here with us today. We wish you all success, and we also pray to Allah Almighty to safeguard this country and its people. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
تؤكد وزارة الكهرباء والماء والطاقة المتجددة بأن عمليات توليد الطاقة الكهربائية وتحلية المياه تسير وفق الخطط التشغيلية المعتادة، وتؤكد الوزارة على جاهزيتها التامة للتعامل مع أي طارئ من خلال خطط متكاملة تتضمن الإجراءات الواجب اتباعها لاستمرارية الكهرباء والماء. وتوفر لدى الوزارة كفاءات وطنية مؤهلة وعلى أعلى درجات الاستعداد لتفعيل هذه الخطط متى ما دعت الحاجة. والمخزون الاستراتيجي من المياه العذبة في البلاد في ازدياد، إلى جانب توفر مخزون من المياه الجوفية، مما يعزز قدرة المنظومة الوطنية على الصمود والتعامل مع مختلف الظروف.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة، معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماماً، ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية، والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس، ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق. كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي، والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ، مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانياً بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
قوة الإطفاء العام على استعداد تام وجاهزية للتعامل مع أي طارئ على مدار الساعة من خلال مراكزها البرية والبحرية والمطارات، ونحن نعمل وفق خطط طوارئ متكاملة بتجهيزات متطورة وكوادر مدربة على أعلى مستوى لضمان سرعة الاستجابة وكفاءة التعامل مع مختلف البلاغات سواء كانت خطرة أو بسيطة. وهذا الاستعداد والجاهزية لدينا مستمرة على مدار العام حفاظاً على سلامة الأرواح والممتلكات وتحقيق الأمن المجتمعي.
Welcome back to this live coverage, bringing you the latest developments and breaking news from Kuwait and the region. Now, let me go to one of our correspondent, Khalid Al-Hajji, who is at Kuwait Fire Force headquarters. Khalid, if you can hear me, tell me what's happening at your side.
Yes, hi and welcome, Abdurrahim. I can hear you clearly. I'm here in Kuwait Fire Force Station. The whole team are ready for any emergency if needed. Also, across the whole country, every fire station are ready for any emergency if needed. We have here with us the Lieutenant Colonel Ali Muhammad Hassan, and he will give us more details about how ready they are. Hello and welcome to our live coverage. Can you tell us how the fire stations and firefighters ready for any emergency if needed?
Yeah, good evening to you and our dear viewers at KDV2. First of all, I would like to thank the Ministry of Information for this continuous coverage at the premises and what the Kuwait Fire Force is doing in this light event. As we all know, due to the current situation, the Kuwait Fire Force has worked throughout the clock, and we have raised our readiness and preparation, and we have this contingency plan activating the emergency plan. Throughout this plan, we are working around the clock to ensure the safety of the citizen and the residents of the state of Kuwait. As of today, looking into the central operation room, we have received 18 normal emergency calls. Speaking about normal emergency calls, it consists of, could be accidents, it could be rescue missions. Therefore, these kind of incidents are very crucial considering a firefighter. So we take it very affirmatively and seriously. For every call we deal with, we take full preparation for that call. We'd like to ensure the people that everything throughout the 48 hours is calm and there is no need to panic, as we always say. But it's very important to stay vigilant and aware of the current situation. Especially when you hear the emergency sirens. We know throughout the day sometimes the civil defense is activating the sirens. A lot of people during that time should consider certain safety precautions. These safety precautions, such as if you are at home, make sure you're away from the windows, try to go to the lower ground floors, stay with your families and friends, especially the kids and the elderly people. Ensure them that this is a timely matter, and after that, things will be okay, because sometimes they could panic. Stay away from the elevators, flammable liquids, and you need to have a first aid kit always at home. And as long, we always advise people to have a fire extinguisher and a fire blanket as well.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant